Hey, welcome on in. It is a Tuesday edition of Lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com. And as you can see from the cars behind us, we are coming to you live from Mungenast St Louis Acura, Claibs, and they're really pushing this gray one behind you.
Well, they can push it all they want, but it'll be here if you think I'm going to buy because, I have a rule. Can't have a car if you can't put your girlfriend's golf clubs and groceries in it all at the same time. And while this is a beautiful car, it probably doesn't fit me, but it does have somebody's name on it.
It does. A lot of nice cars out here in the showroom on the lot, and they are cars are going right now.
You're right.
New and used.
Well,
So
you touched on something in the showroom. There's a lot of dealerships that don't have very many cars, not only on the lot, but certainly in the showroom. But that's not the case here. So what we suggest you do if you're looking, I know some people look around the holiday season, and I know things are prices are up, but you can still make a good deal here because they've got variety. They've got a selection. They've got a great used car selection as well, but they also have some new cars. So I would just say come on out or go online and check them out. And there may be something for you. There may be a surprise for you. So I would just say check it out because this is one of the few places, Joe, in St. Louis where they do have legitimate inventory. So we want to make sure you understand that because you can call around a lot of places and they'll just say, yeah, check back sometime in June. Not the case here.
yeah, and we are each and every week we are driven by Mungenast St. Louis Acura, powered by Ameren, Illinois. Ryan Kelly, the home loan expert. Find him online at thehomeloanexperts.com. It's also Claibs. It's not only Thanksgiving week, it's your birthday week. So I just want to make sure people see that it's not 2 pounds of it, but it's a good 1 pound of carrot cake for you here today.
Let me just tell everybody this carrot cake story. Many years ago, maybe at least 20 years ago.
Was it 20 years ago?
Yeah, it's got to be that far. I used to do commercials for a very nice restaurant in Illinois, Porter Steakhouse, still a great place. And on the menu at the time, they had a 2-pound carrot cake. And so as I was doing a live spot, I would say this 2-pound carrot cake. And for some reason, it stuck, thanks to Jay Randolph and Dave Green and some other people who would just always say that. Now, Mark Walsh with the Cardinals is saying it every time I see him. Mark Walsh, one of the best equipment people in baseball. And some other people have always say that. So when you hear people say it, that's what it's all about. And here's the one secret that probably most people don't know. I don't even eat carrot cake. I don't eat sweets. I'll eat a little bit of a wedding cake, a little birthday cake, white sheet cakes. But I'm not a sweet guy. And one of the things I made a commitment when I decided I wanted to change some things, I gave all that up. So, and now I got a colonoscopy coming up. So this one will sit, but someone will devour this on Thanksgiving Day, I promise.
I was going to say, you could take it somewhere on Thanksgiving.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, it'll be taken care of. It's always the dumbest things that stick with you.
There's no doubt.
It is. I mean, so the one that sticks with me that people listening are familiar with. So this was a few years ago down at spring training. Iggy and I went to the Juno Beach Fish House together.
By the way,
dinner.
Iggy, you're welcome for the ticket in the no-show.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
That's all right. I said it. Asshole.
So we go there and we get conch fritters.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day on the air, on the morning show, they're asking what we did the night before. And we're talking about what we went and what we got. And I think Tim brought up, oh, what are the fritters like? And I said, they give you about 10 nice sized fritters. And for some reason, that is a drop that is still played today on TMA. And I put out this past weekend when I was down in Nashville running the half down there. I just put, hey, what restaurant should I go to? And somebody even commented, find a place with 10 nice sized fritters. I just responded back, I'm not eating any kind of fish out of the Cumberland River.
No, they bring them in. Nobody fishes in the Cumberland River.
Well, then I'm not eating it. I'm not eating it.
What'd you think of Nashville?
It was a night. I want to go back. I want to go.
Fun town. So, it's grown so much. I think it's really the roads. It's hard to get around. It's very tough to get around unless you know the back way. It's a little pricey now too because there's a huge housing demand. But man, from an entertainment standpoint and just how versatile the place is, you got Vanderbilt, you got Tennessee State, you got Belmont, you got Fisk, you got like 5 or 6 universities there. So it's kind of a a high-end college town.
So we ran
Baptist
through
Hospital is one of the top hospitals in the Mid-South. I mean, they got a lot of good things going on. It's a huge insurance area now as well,
Yeah.
as far as corporates are concerned.
the race, the half marathon race took us through Vanderbilt and it took us through Belmont. So we didn't hit up the other.
Yeah, which
the other
Belmont,
two.
by the way, coming to the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, I saw that. That was that was a nice. I mean, both of them were nice. I mean, Vanderbilt, SEC money. They're going to be a nice campus, but Belmont too.
It heightens the GPA.
Yeah.
As well.
Belmont was a really nice campus and looked really nice. Pretty. I mean, big buildings. They're not. I don't think. Do they have a football program at Belmont?
No, but their baseball and basketball makes up for it.
I was going to say basketball for sure. That's a team. That's one you hear in the
job,
tournament, whether or not they're a 15 or 14 seed.
It's all right.
And
They scare the hell out of anybody they play when
they
get
do.
in the tournament.
They've won a few games in the tournament. So that we're what 2 weeks into the start of college basketball right now. I'll tell you what, who's exciting me right now is my Western Illinois Leathernecks. They beat Nebraska in their first game of the season, and they almost beat DePaul this past weekend.
Now they beat a name that used to be competitive in football.
They beat a Big Ten team. They are a Summit League team that beat a Big Ten team.
That's acceptable.
And then I couldn't even tell you what conference DePaul's in. Are they in the American Athletic Conference?
Are they in the Big East?
One of those two.
Yeah. But
so they went to DePaul and almost beat them there too. So for a Summit League team, that should tell you, what, they should be that 16 seed that gets out of the
overrated program. They haven't been any good since Ray Meyer was there.
No, they haven't.
When?
Quentin Richardson.
But what did they do?
I mean, they won games. They went they made Sweet 16 with Quentin Richardson, didn't they?
How long ago was that? Quentin Richardson's got kids older than you.
Probably. No. Hold on.
DePaul is very overrated, okay, as far as its so-called impact on the game. And like I just mentioned, Ray Meyer, nicest man you'll ever meet, all right? I mean, he was the only coach you ever had there for like 40 years. Then here comes Joey Meyer, and they've had a number of other people, but they've never been relevant. They were relevant 1 year.
If Fisk is beating people in tournaments,
Fisk ain't beating anybody.
Okay, but if they did, you would brag about it.
No, because they don't. That's a whole different outlook. We turn out scientists. We don't turn out basketball teams. Okay, and how I ended up there, I have no idea because they.
I was going to ask with the I mean, you came from St. Louis. You went there,
I went somewhere else before that. And Coach told me, "Hey man, the ratio for women to men down there is 8-1." I said, "Where do I sign? I can go down there and play and have a good time." So it was a good deal for me. But yeah, they turn out scientists, man. How I slipped through there, I have no idea. Then again, I look at my roommate and I say to myself, well, if they let him in, they might as well let me in. So it's all good.
So SLU off to a decent start so far this season, but you do have some issues on the other two area teams with Mizzou and Illinois. Mizzou's just I don't. Between their basketball program and the defense of their football team, I don't know which one is more embarrassing.
Play better. I think the defense has played much better, including the Georgia game. Because that game, Missouri lost. Missouri beat themselves more than Georgia beat. I think the defense is making some improvements. Now, this basketball thing, I think it's hard for us to really assess anybody at this time of the year. Scheduling for one, getting back into a regular season routine is another thing. And, and when I'm talking about scheduling, I'm talking about you go from playing a bona fide blood donor to a team you've never seen before, and somebody thought it was a good idea to put them on the schedule because maybe they come from a comparable conference, but you don't know what you're getting. Mm-hmm. And with the way the game is now, I was having this discussion with somebody yesterday. Transfers for a reason. Not playing enough, character issues, want to be closer to home. There's a lot of things that go into it. And there was a time where if you had 1 or 2 transfers on your team, that's cool. Now you have 7, 8, 9 guys, and you're trying to put them all together and come together as a unit.
Right.
And so you roll the ball out there at this time of the year, And all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. And then you look at the other coaches and say, now I know why this guy transferred, because there's no cohesiveness. And I think you're going to see that more and more, just like you talk about Nebraska gets knocked out by Western. Reason being, these schools are all trying to find their swim lane. And the longer that they go at this with guys who they didn't recruit initially, guys who haven't gone through the system, you're going to have nights like that. And I think you're going to have more nights like that in basketball. And I think we saw it in football this year as well. As good as Michigan State was, with all their transfers, it caught up to them.
Yeah.
And there's some other schools that thought it was going to work for them, and they've gone in the complete opposite direction.
At some point, both football and basketball.
By the way, Rammer says SLU always beats their asses. I assume he's talking about Western Illinois.
No, they never played Western Illinois.
Oh, okay.
I think he's talking about Belmont.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking he's talking Belmont with that, or DePaul. When was the last time SLU played DePaul?
I don't know. It's been a while. Well, I don't know. That's a good question. It hasn't been.
I feel like those are two that should match up, but they should meet up every.
I'm glad you brought that up about matching up, because I've kind of had it with this whole Mizzou and SLU thing, where they don't play each other. And I had Chris May on Sunday, and Chris is always knowledgeable or willing to play good competition. You know, he basically said, "Yeah, we'll play." You know, now Missouri, on the other hand, well, you know, what do we have to gain out of it, dude? You can beat by everybody, right? Okay, so this whole aura of Mizzou is up here, that's no longer the case. And I'm sure there's somebody who will say, well, we like to play SLU. And SLU says, we don't get anything out of it. Turn somebody down. So Mizzou, I know we have Mizzou fans to pay attention to this. You got a new athletic director, all right? Why don't you give her a call? Let her know that that's a game you want on the schedule. I know Rammer and I were talking about this the other day. You know, when you look at your non-conference schedule, maybe it was Rammer, but I was talking to somebody. I said, who would you rather see, Central Arkansas or Missouri? If you're a SLU fan,
Missouri.
All right. And if Missouri, who would Missouri rather play? And you pick one of those schools that they found on the scrap heap. Nobody wants to go. That's why nobody goes to see Missouri games in the first place, because their non-conference schedule at home sucks.
Their schedule so far this year, they did so they had that loss earlier in the season.
They play UMKC.
Yeah, KC. That's fine. You know what? They should play schools like they should
play a regional.
They are in your state. You should play schools like that.
Harris travel. They travel across the street to play. Now,
you take a bus for that, or you walk over?
I think you walk
across the street for that.
Well, as long as you have a crossing guard.
Okay.
You don't want anybody getting run over. By the way,
you leave a bus in the parking lot, though, it might not be there when the game's over. Ask Frank.
Did you hear this story about a guy in Kansas City? He got run over by his wife twice in a car. A bowling ball was stuck under the car. Don't ask me how that happened. He got out of the car and tried to get in the car to get the bowling ball. Somebody tried to rob his wife, and she pushed it in drive and ran over. Panicked and tried to save him and put it in reverse and ran over him again. I'm serious. This happened in Kansas City on, I think, Friday or Saturday.
Just the backing up part. I mean, I feel like.
I think maybe there was an ulterior motive,
right?
Here, you know, where
I was going to say
maybe he just signed some insurance papers or something. But DePaul, Rammer says they always beat DePaul.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for listening. And why aren't you on a beach somewhere? Billikens are in Mexico.
They have what do they play down there? They got what tournament is that they're playing down there?
Let's just, for aesthetic's sake, the Cancun Classic.
All the way down there just to play Illinois State down there in the Cancun Challenge. The Riviera division is what they're in for.
Riviera Maya, that's a great area in Cancun.
Yeah,
they got some great resorts there, and I know my good friend Bob Ramsey is enjoying the fruits of those.
Yeah.
Let me tell you quickly.
I would imagine they play more than one game down there, but next week they're heading up to go see BJ Raines up at Boise State.
They have some real. I like SLU's non-conference schedule. So let me tell you a story. Rammer and I are doing a game out in Hawaii. This had to be 1988. No, My kid was, maybe 89. Anyway, yeah. So we are in Hawaii, and St. Louis U is playing the number 3 team in the country, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And I was of the belief that if you give Rich Grau more than a day to prepare for you, you're gonna have a problem. You don't care whether it's Duke, Iowa, any of those schools. So we play Iowa, and we got them on the ropes. And Rich Grau, smart coach, they had a guy, Iowa had a guy named Ed Horton, 57% free throw shooter. So Billikens were trailing by 1 at the time. We're talking about like less than a minute to go. Grauer fouls Horton, and there's a big to do. And all of a sudden, B.J. Armstrong is at the free throw line shooting free throw. B.J. Armstrong is like an 81% free throw shooter. The referees never figured it out. Billikens lose that game, and I don't know. There were never two more people more upset because we knew we got screwed. Because they wanted to take it, that was a dangerous tournament. Remember, Virginia went out there one year and got beat by the home team, Chaminade. Anyway, Billikens ended up winning the back end of the tournament. But that was one of the most fun trips Rammer and I've ever had. We've had a whole lot of them. There's some more stories to that, but that was the one I'll always remember how we got screwed by the referee who wasn't paying attention.
That's not something that's going to happen these days in that. So we've talked a lot of college basketball here to start up. By the way, Illinois gets Kofi back the other day and loses their game too. So that's not good on that part. So, but like you said, it's still. I mean, we're still in the month of November here in college basketball.
You don't know about your team until January anyway.
Yeah. I didn't even have college basketball stuff on the list for us to talk about today. I didn't realize we were going to go there because I figure that's just something Rammer and Rocky will cover each and every week, twice a week.
If you have not checked out the 2-man game yet, you're really missing basketball talk that I would strongly urge for you basketball fans to get into. They have a lot of fun with that, and a little pro, a little college. There'll even be some high school stuff coming into play, I'm sure. So check it out. 2-man game twice a week here on claibsonline.com.
Hey, let's hear from the folks here at Mungenast about their Toys for Tot drive that they are doing. Come right back, and we'll have more here at lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com. We are powered by Ameren, Illinois, driven by Mungenast St Louis Acura, and sponsored by Ryan Kelly, the home
At St. Louis Acura and Alden Toyota, we are proud of our dedication to service, and we continue to serve our community. From now until December 12th, bring a new unwrapped toy from Marine Corps Reserve, Toys for Tots, to support 323 Marines who in 2020 collected toys for over 78,000 children. Drop off at either St. Louis Acura or Alden Toyota. St. Louis Acura and Alden Toyota, becoming better than ever for you.
Hey, let's stay on the college scene. Football, we talked we talked a lot of basketball there the first 15 minutes or so of the show. But this past weekend, you saw Mizzou get another win over Florida, and apparently, if you lose to Mizzou, you lose your job. As Dan Mullen out at Florida. Well, it was a long time coming. That team has been on the.
He's kind of been an embarrassment here the last couple of years. Now, granted, guy was in the championship game. But when you lose 4 in a row to conference games like that, it's hard to survive when you're Florida. Which, when you think about it, you have Florida, Florida State, Central Florida, Miami, 4 very good programs, and none of them can break through.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the greatest bastions of college football talent we've ever seen that comes out of that state. And none of those schools can put it together. But I think Mullen was a clown act, and I didn't like what he did last year when Missouri played him. So he kind of got what he deserved. He also got $12 million in away.
Yeah.
So some clown.
Who takes over there?
Well, that's a great question. I'm sure somebody might want Tim Tebow to do it. They want to do everything else.
Right.
I don't know. I think that in this situation, I think coaches have to really be careful in just saying, I'd love to go coach there, because there's something wrong there.
Mm-hmm.
There's something going on where they can't push it over the goal line, and there's no excuse for it because it can be done. But so I don't know. I think we're going to see a lot of movement this offseason, as far as coaches are concerned. I know a guy, his name is being thrown out there. You have the Mel Tuckers, Cristobal out in Oregon. A few other guys that are really starting to make a name for themselves. Luke Fickle is going to be a guy that's going to be out there. But you think about it, you got Florida, you got USC right off the hop. You got LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Those are three prominent programs. And who knows who else is going to be out of a job when the season's over with. So maybe Harbaugh's done. I got news for you. Harbaugh gets it handed to him this weekend. He might be history as well.
I mean, right now, Oregon just lost their second game of the season this past weekend to Utah. So Oregon, you'd have to think, well out of the mix for that top four. Cincinnati, they keep rolling, 11-0 now. Georgia, 11-0. They are the only two undefeated teams left in the country after Texas San Antonio. Texas San Antonio. No, they won. They didn't cover. That's right. That's.
But you watching fish scales here?
I was in Tennessee, so I was able to bet it on stuff this weekend.
You can bet there, huh?
You can, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they won the game. They didn't win for me.
You know, it's amazing how some states figure it out and other states don't. You know, this gambling thing is here to stay. All right. And these states need to get on board. If you're looking for revenue, hey, this gambling thing, and you know, if you look over the course of time, the most important items that have created found money, as I call it, it used to be called riverboat gambling. That was good. And here comes the lottery. Then you had marijuana. Now you have gambling. All those things have generated incredible amounts of tax money that we used to always say, it's going to go to education.
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit. It's not. Because the education system is flawed as well. So that's not true. But if you don't get on board with this, you're going to be out of luck.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the neat things or interesting things I do give Missouri credit for is the name and likeness, the way they came with that bill. Because, you know, in Georgia, you know, state gets 80% of the guy's money. So why would you want to go there?
Right.
So there's a lot of things that go into it. But they're talking about putting kiosks in Wrigley Field this year.
Yeah, no, they're already building up. They're already building up stuff for DraftKings. They got a whole thing, construction going on in the stadium right now for that.
Because I guess they're done working on the press box. Huh?
Probably, yeah. That's not going to get any bigger for you.
And you know what? I love the people there. Security people, the same ones there. Ron Coomer and Pat and all those guys are all great people. But man, that's the worst working facility I've experienced in professional sports.
Yeah, and no elevators to get up there.
Well, they have an elevator now.
But you got to walk all the way down.
No. They have one.
They put a new one in?
Yeah.
Well, good.
Well, they had an elevator. They put one in because they have those luxury suites.
Yeah.
So it's right there.
By the way, Rammer says that as long as SLU beats Illinois State, they play the winner of Buffalo and Stephen F. Austin.
Well, Buffalo
tomorrow,
is a reputable team.
Yeah, he says both are tournament teams, so he's told. Is
Well,
one of the Hurleys still coaching at Buffalo, or he moved? He took that's the one that took the Arizona State job, right?
I believe you're right.
Yeah, he was.
Buffalo has been pretty competitive.
So we had 5 games this past weekend on our picks, and there you go. There's the standings right now for those. Yeah,
the pro thing. I want to go back to the college
thing
for a second. While I'm not the biggest believer in the Heisman Trophy, I know it's a prominent award in college sports. Who
I couldn't tell you who was up for it this year.
Well, who do you like? I mean, if you've seen enough games, I think this guy, Alabama, Bryce Young. When you look at what he's done now, I'm not just talking about Saturday, where apparently Barry Odom forgot to bring the defense with him to Tuscaloosa, but 33 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions over the course of the year, and truly plays the position from all the elements. He can run. He's an incredible passer. I think he's a guy, and he's on the number 2 team in the country. So I think he's a guy that's got to warrant some real consideration. But the best receiver in the country is from St. Louis. Jameis Williams with Alabama, who used to be at Ohio State. Guy's averaging 20 yards a catch. He's got 1,200 yards in receiving. He's also returned kicks and punts this year. I think he's maybe the most complete offensive player that's out there right now. But he's definitely the best wide receiver on a legitimate program. Now, I'm sure there's a guy from East Yahoo Wesleyan that's probably putting up numbers, but nobody cares. Nobody pays attention. The skill level isn't the same. And I'm sure there's an award for him in whatever conference he's in But right now, Jameson Williams is the best receiver in the country.
So our 5 games this past weekend, out of the college side, we went with Ohio State, Michigan. We all 7 picked Ohio State to win that one. I was the lone person to pick Utah to beat Oregon this past week, and then then we threw the Washington football team at the Panthers, Bengals at Raiders, Cowboys.
So how did I do this week?
You, as I look here on the list, I think you went 3. Did you go 3 and 2?
Okay.
This week.
I still enjoy a what?
You are tied with Brian Hoffman now. He went 4 and 1 this past week. Yeah,
well, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, so I'm one game behind you, and
I'm
then
not
Howard Richards, who had who was on fire recently and moved all the way up to second place, drops all the way down to
And
6th.
he took Missouri. I'm shocked.
He
took the Cowboys too.
No, he didn't. We didn't have Missouri on the list this week.
Okay.
Missouri is next week. Yeah, we have Missouri this week. You know what? When I wrote down the games, I already wrote Howard's name down as the Cowboys pick because I knew that was going to happen. I wasn't quite sure what he was going to do with the Mizzou game this week, but I do think, you know what? Maybe one of these. I don't know. I mean, is he that much of a company man?
No, he's just a believer in what he sees on a regular basis. We have time for another story. I kind of feel like Don.
What do you mean? We don't have a. It's not. We don't have somebody waiting at the door to come in after us.
So here's a guy. There's a guy that used to work in the market. I love this guy. Wonderful person. I haven't seen him in a while. I hope he's doing well. His name is Brooks Perry.
Okay, I've heard that name before.
Fan of Missouri. All right, could not. No matter what, he's always going to vote Missouri. So one year Missouri is playing Texas. I think Texas is like number 2 in the country, and they were annihilating everybody they played. So Rammer and I, we had a Friday pick'em show. So Brooks would come in and talk about the Mizzou game. So, all right, we said, all right, Brooks, when you match them up, the defense, well, Texas. Offense, who you like? Well, Texas is pretty good offensively. I got to go with them too. Special teams, Texas is really good at that too. What about coaching? Well, Texas got a pretty good coaching staff. And so Rammer says, Brooks, who? I was done after that. Wonderful guy, though. I always enjoyed my time around Brooks. Remind me to tell you about a bachelor party Brooks was once at.
All right.
You heard the story at the Super Bowl.
I've heard that story. I've heard that, and I will call. I call John Marisek each and every year I'm at the Super Bowl just to have it. It's like, for me, hearing that story every year I'm at the Super Bowl is like kids that gather around, like the patriarch of a family to hear night before Christmas.
Well, you got to have Jay tell the story too.
Yeah.
No, it was Rammer's bachelor party.
You see, Rammer, I think Rammer signed off and he's not watching anymore. So you can't go tell stories about his bachelor party here.
No, it was the same. No, it was
okay,
clean.
I'm just
it's a clean story.
All right.
Anyway, but it was
we should charge people money to hear stories like that. To hear stories of Rammer's bachelor party, I feel like that should, or Jay's bachelor party or stuff like that. I feel like those
think that it was some sort of lewd and lascivious behavior taking place. Nothing like that. It was just a comical moment that Brooks happened to be part of.
Just to hear stories of Jay drinking, I feel like people should be charged money to hear those. Which, since moving down to Sullivan, he's become a dip guy now too.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's good to see him.
That's definitely the Sullivan in it.
Yeah, that's true. Got a few other things going on down there. All right, so I had to get that out of the way about the college thing.
Yeah.
Because I think that this kid, and I'll say this also, and you and I've talked about this. I think these 5-star guys, they're going to give the program they commit to 2 years. And if you are not successful in 2 years, they're going to transfer and go to a team that's going to be ready to win right now. And Jameson Williams is the classic example. He was at Ohio State. He didn't get enough run. He says, you know what, I'm out of here. He goes to Alabama, and now he's the best receiver in the country because he's only going to be there 1 year. Then he'll go to the pros and make more money, and all will be good in the world.
So our 5 games this week, we're going with the 3 NFL games on Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. We are going with the Egg Bowl, and then on Friday, Arkansas, Mizzou. So the only one of those, really only 2 of those have a decent spread on them, and
Which
that's
one?
Bills and Saints. That's the Thanksgiving night game, and then the Egg Bowl too. I think has a pretty small spread.
2 bizarre individuals as far as coaches there.
Absolutely.
But I like Mike Leach over Lane Kiffin.
So we'll have those. Andy and I will do a special version of Weekend Joe. We'll put it out Thanksgiving morning on the site. We'll have all our picks on there for the weekend. So there you go. NFL. Anything out of this weekend in the NFL? That's
it's a bad league.
I'm so confused. This is the most confused I've been.
I agree
with figuring out who is good, because
you're absolutely right.
You saw,
and it's not parity; it's the fact they just aren't very good.
Yeah, you saw the Titans lose to the Texans in Tennessee this weekend. You saw the Bills play another bad game this weekend. Yeah. The Bengals won, but going into that game, the Bengals went from the 1 seed and dropped out. They were out of the playoff race.
How about Cleveland? They won, but I mean they didn't wow.
And they have enough. They have so many issues with Baker Mayfield now too.
Let me ask you: do you re-sign?
You need a consistent quarterback at some point. If he's going to be a consistent quarterback that leads you to the playoffs multiple years, then yeah, you re-sign him.
See, here's the thing:
you want to go out and draft another one again?
Well, here's the thing with Mayfield: they got a pretty good offensive line. They got a really good runner in Nick Chubb, who got his start. Nobody ever heard Nick Chubb until he rolled into Columbia. Remember when who was the other running that went down with the knee? Rams drafted. Todd Gurley.
Okay.
Gurley doesn't play in Columbia, and they ran out a guy named Nick Chubb, and he hadn't stopped running since. So they've got a really good offense. Obviously, the quarterback is always going to be the issue because he's the most visible. But there's something awry in Cleveland. Maybe it's because they're in Cleveland. I don't know. But I really feel like they've got to make a decision, because you don't want to say we're going to do a rebuild with a new quarterback. You got to make a decision and just say, what do we really have with this guy? And is there a free agent out there? Or do you find a guy like a Kirk Cousins? He's not dynamic. He didn't lose games for you. He's not going to win a lot of them. But, do you look for a guy like that?
I mean,
because you got a good offensive line.
I'm trying to think of the last big free agent signing that a team had for a quarterback that made a huge impact.
Kirk Cousins.
Have they won a playoff game?
No, I mean, but my point, he's created some stability. Now Minnesota's
Ryan Tannehill.
Tannehill might
but he's not. But you're not looking at him as a top 10 quarterback in the league, are you?
Manager. See, that's what I'm saying. When you have game managers who don't lose games for you, and maybe that's what they need, because if you got a good runner, you got decent receivers, you got a line that can protect you, and you got a beast of a defense. So they have all the components to be better, but they for some reason can't get it done. And you hate to put it on one guy in Mayfield, but something's got to be adjusted.
So, so we'll have those picks coming up this weekend as well. Hey, we're going to take another break. When we come back, get the latest out of Major League Baseball right here. It is Lunch with Claibs and Joe, powered by Ameren, Illinois, driven by Mungenast St Louis Acura, and sponsored by Ryan Kelly, the home loan expert.
It's hard work to be at the top of your game, always improving, to be better, but it's worth it. At Ameren, Illinois, we approach reliability the same way. It's why we don't just power one of the smartest energy grids in the nation. We work tirelessly to make it smarter, with upgrades, improvements, and a plan for the future. And we'll never stop raising the bar on reliability, because it matters to you. Learn more at amerenillinois.com/reliability.
So today is what, November 23rd. We know that when the clock strikes midnight on December 1st, that the Major League Baseball will be locked out. Do you talk to any players, any representatives, anybody at the union about what's going on?
I've had a couple of discussions, and obviously they're talking. But this is a little bit of a different tone than what I've been used to, because, and you have to remember, it's been a while since these two have locked horns in this manner. Now, there's been a little bit of contention, and, we go back to COVID and how things worked then. But, they've had reasonable labor peace. And for it to get this far, one of the things is all the guys that are in the room, with the exception of Manfred, weren't around when most recent CBA was done. So this is kind of uncharted territory. I think one of the issues that comes into play is, if you ask the average person, what are they fighting for? And the answer is, well, it's all about money. Yeah, well, we know that, but what kind of money? What are we talking about?
I would say, the big issue seems to be, I would think, when a player can become a free agent for the first time. Would you say that's probably, is that the biggest issue at hand, or what would you say is the biggest
I think the bigger issue is more teams need to be competitive, because that affects more guys than the Chris Bryants and the young guys.
Okay. How do you go about that then?
You have to establish some sort of parameter where teams have to commit to a certain amount of money.
A salary cap floor.
Kind of, sort of. But, I think when you start using those sort of terms, it kind of puts up the force field if you're the players, because they think on the backside of this, they're going to be, for lack of a better term limited. But there's got to be some reason to create more competition. There's no excuse for a team spends $80 million, or I think what's even worse, and we don't see it in St. Louis, but if you're Cincinnati or Baltimore or some of these other teams where you've already surrendered before the first play takes place in spring training, that's insulting.
Yeah,
that's insulting to their fans. That's insulting to players who are going to be stuck in a situation that they don't deserve to be in. So I think that the players want the owners to spend more money, and maybe it's in development. But I think the fact that you have to have a legitimate payroll is something I think is probably that serves more players than just what you're talking about as far as when a guy can be a free agent.
I know Scott Boras held his little press conference at the GM meetings, where he talks everybody up and gives his little cute anecdotes for players.
Now, have you seen that?
I've never seen it in person. I've seen it on TV. I've heard about it. I have never been to one of those meetings to see that.
It's kind of amusing, because he'll sometimes stand on top of a soapbox and there's 50, 60 people all around him. There's no press conference sort of setup. We're just standing on a palm tree and he's just talking to guys. And it's well thought out. Let me just say this about Scott Boras. He's a very smart man. I respect what he does for his clients. But I always remind everybody that his speech is about what's best for him. If you look at his record, he can get you a good deal as a free agent. He's not very good in arbitration. Some people think he's too big, which is why you see guys splinter off. But when it's all said and done, he deserves a seat at the table back because of the influence he has on the game. So, of a floor as far as a minimum. I heard him talking about that. And I'm not sure what the formula is. But they've got to come up with something to create more competition, because too many teams have given up before they even say play ball.
And he has said that he feels that 17 teams are playing to win this year out of 30, which is a number that right now does seem high, because we haven't seen some of those teams.
What teams do you think are trying to win?
Well, I could tell you. I'm just going. Okay, so I'm going based off of last year.
Okay, but hold on. And I misphrased that. There's some teams that are trying to win, and there are other teams that just want to compete. There's a huge difference. So, how many teams do you think are trying to compete?
So, if you're trying to compete, I'm going to look at playoff teams from last year. American League first: Tampa, Boston, Yankees, Toronto. All of them trying to win.
That's 4.
White Sox trying to win.
Yeah.
Houston trying to win. I don't think Seattle's trying to win anymore.
I disagree. I think Seattle's trying to compete. Just because they let Seager go, you know what? Seattle may have the most stacked minor league system in baseball.
And you saw them last year hesitate to bring those guys up. Are there more players in that system that they'll do that with?
I don't think so. I think because they know they're right on the cusp, I think they're going to be in a position. So I'm going to say Seattle is a team that will try and compete.
Okay.
Now, winning is a different story.
On the other side, Atlanta, you got to put them in. They just won the World Series. If they let Freddie Freeman go, if they are unable to come to terms with Freddie Freeman, what category do you put them in?
Competing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Philadelphia, with the money they've spent, you got to think they're playing to win. They just haven't figured it out how to do it yet.
I'm at 8 teams.
Milwaukee, St. Louis,
9, 10.
San Francisco, Dodgers.
Yeah.
Where do we stand with the Padres right now?
Trying to compete. They got too much money invested.
Okay.
So that's 13.
That's what I said. 17 I thought's too high. So you're telling me so
did we miss a division?
no.
Yeah, you're right.
No,
So
I'm
13.
trying to
No, you're right.
and so
how
you're
many of those teams do we think are trying to win?
10 of them?
Boston.
mean-
Let's go back over. Boston, New York.
Right.
Uh,
Tampa is reportedly working on signing Wander Franco to a long-term
okay,
10-year
so
deal, like an Albert
they've had
Pujols
a
type
taste
deal.
of it,
Yes.
so I'm going to say they're trying to win.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you got Franco, you got a Rosarena
Okay.
there with
You know what? I'm going to tell you a team that I'm going to throw in that category. Detroit.
they. You know what though? Yes, I think they're going to go out and spend if they've already
So
went.
we have
They
14
already
teams.
went and signed with
Tucker
Perez.
Barnhart. They traded for him.
They signed Perez,
Yeah.
right? And if
They
they
got
if they
money.
sign Correa, if
They
they
got
sign
money.
Correa, then you can put them right there.
So we'll say 14 teams. So, but they're not in a position to win yet. So we
No.
won't put them in that category. All right. So who else do we have? Scroll down a little bit more. Houston's trying to win.
Are the Angels trying to win?
Angels are trying to compete.
You have to. I mean, if you have
gotta-
you have
you gotta
two of the
be
best
able to-
players in baseball on your team.
Yeah, but you got to be able to compete before you can win.
Yeah. And then you go out and you get Noah Syndergaard.
And you rent him for a year.
Yeah.
And you know what? Somewhere along the way, they might like him even more and give him a long term.
And he might like it there. And you know what? If everything works out and everyone's healthy, it's a great pick.
All right, let's look at the National League. Who's trying to win?
National League trying to win.
Atlanta.
Milwaukee, St. Louis, Atlanta.
LA, San Francisco, San Diego.
But what's San Diego going to do this offseason to show you that they're going to try to win?
They got to get more pitching.
Okay. And they have to do that first.
And well, here's why I think they're trying to win, because they went out and got one of the best managers in baseball.
Okay.
They could have went out and they could have hired anybody else.
So you think they already have the pieces in place to turn that
I
79
think-
wins into 90?
I think if they have someone who knows how to manage a staff, and Melvin can, I think they can. I think they'll make it quite interesting.
And them getting to 90 wins, that brings down, you'd have to think that brings down Giants and Dodgers win total just a little bit.
Yeah. Because the Dodgers own San Diego.
Yeah.
So you're right.
And the Dodgers right now, there's no telling what that roster is going to look like
Right,
next
you're right.
year.
You're absolutely right. You know, there's some talk that Kershaw might go over to Anaheim. You know, because the Dodgers, didn't tender him.
Right.
So there's a lot.
You think Kershaw goes there? Or you think Kershaw goes down to Texas?
That's possible.
I don't know if you knew this. I mean, no broadcast has ever mentioned this ever before, but Clayton Kershaw and Matt Stafford are friends.
They went to high school.
They did. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not many people.
You know what?
You
I gotta
watch a
tell you
broadcast and you would think they would bring that up a time or two, and it's never
I think
mentioned.
that's one of the few times we've ever heard that. I think they sat next to each other the third grade. Anyway, I look at this thing where CBA wise, they got to get something done. There's a lot at stake, and I don't think you can go into the new year or into February not knowing. And I'll give you a good example. If you remember, 3 years ago when the owners decided to slow things down and nobody got signed until like the day before spring training in a lot of cases, I don't think the players liked it. I thought it made the teams a little awkward as well. So I think you want to stay away from that. I really think that you've got to get something done either by Christmas, because it's not like some new subjects have been put on the table. We all know what this is about. It would be good to go into Christmas with this thing resolved.
Yeah.
So everybody can move forward. Free agency can get back into play, and guys can know where their home is going to be.
We will we'll wrap things up before with our baseball talk. Yeah, with the Hall of Fame. And the ballots came out for the 2022 Hall of Fame. You look at these names, final year on the ballot: Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Curt Schilling, Sammy Sosa. Those four. This is the final time they will be on that ballot.
Okay, I'm good with that. I'm not voting for them.
You're not voting for any of them.
No.
So
if I had a vote, and I don't, I'm throwing Andrew Jones on that list.
okay. I was going to ask
Scott
what your
Rowland
for
on that
Barry
list.
as a guy like Barry Bonds. What is your? I just want to know what your reasoning is for not voting.
I think
for
he
that.
circumvented the game.
Okay.
That's it. And you know what? What's unfortunate about that? he was a Hall of Famer before he surfaced.
And that's kind of, I think what the argument is with a guy like Barry Bonds is that he was so good before he made that jump in 2000 that some people will argue that he belongs in there because of that.
No.
Okay.
Because his whole body of work came to light. And so the reason why I took Andrew Jones is because Andrew Jones was as good of a center fielder as there was in his era. And that's what we're voting on. What did you do when you played? Guy could play, flat out play. What did he have? 400 home runs?
Did he get there?
Gary Sheffield's a guy I think about. He's hit over 500. And I don't know any other.
Does Gary Sheffield's name come up, though, when you talk about PEDs?
It's kind of gray area.
Right.
But not to the same extent as we mentioned with Clemens and Bonds and Sosa. Do we have a guy that's in the Hall of Fame or not in the Hall of Fame that doesn't have 500 home runs?
I mean, guys that cheat. I mean, Palmeiro.
Yeah.
Bonds. Okay. Sosa, like those. I mean, those are the guys that have hit 500 home runs and are not in the Hall of Fame.
The other guy I would give great consideration to two guys, Andy Pettitte and Billy Wagner.
If you're going to talk about this with that, I mean, Andy Pettitte.
Well, that's true. He's out.
Yeah, Andy Pettitte has multiple. Yeah, he even admitted to it. So
he's out.
And who was the other one you just said?
We appreciate the honesty, but you're done.
Who was the other name?
Billy Wagner.
How many? I mean, where did he end up with saves?
I'm not sure overall. Here's what I'm looking at: his dominance when he pitched.
Yeah.
I mean, he was as good of a left-handed reliever as we'll ever see. And he was throwing with just, mid to high 90s. I mean, he checked a lot of boxes.
Two names you're going to see on this list.
Scott Rowland, as I mentioned.
Yeah, that are going to get more votes than they did last year and are going to continue to creep up if they don't make it or not are Scott Rowland and Omar Vizquel.
Vizquel can pick it, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where you look at just the defensive side of things for how good he was defensively.
Now, I'm going to say this, and I want people to get confused. Omar Vizquel is his era's Ozzie Smith, where he could flat out pick him, all right, as did Ozzie. Offensively, he made himself a better hitter as his career went on, much like Ozzie. So I wouldn't have a problem with him because, while we've seen Ozzie all of our lives, we didn't see Vizquel enough, but I saw him enough to say, this guy, he can play. So where does he fit in the numbers ranking as far as what the analytics say? I don't know. But this is where you have to have eyes on the player, and that'll give you a better accounting of what this person means with respect to his opportunity to be in the Hall of Fame.
Scott Rowland in 2020 received 35.3% of the votes. In 2021, Scott Rowland received 52.9% of the votes. So trending that way, unless there is a huge jump this year due to the lack of names that people will vote, and has a very good chance of making the Hall of Fame in 2023.
I agree with you.
I would say, and I'm looking up where Omar Vizquel was on his voting most recently for this, and as I just scroll through quickly, trying to find any kind of numbers on it, I have not seen anything just yet. But Omar Vizquel over 2,000 hits in his career, 2,800 hits.
2,800. Huh?
That's what I'm seeing here.
Wow.
I mean, it says 2,877 for Omar Vizquel.
So he's really in that Ozzie.
11 Gold Gloves too.
He's in that Ozzie category.
Most games played at shortstop too.
Yeah. So if I have a vote, he's in.
Yeah, he is not top 37%.
See, Ozzie he's the face of the guy who made himself a good player, flawless defender, really made him. He had a year where he struck out 26 times. And I mean, which you never see. Yeah, we had guys strike out that much in a homestand. So my point being, we haven't seen anybody like Ozzie. And now here comes Vizquel with similar numbers, great credentials, the Gold Gloves for sure. He's in for me.
There you go. So what those come out January?
Yes.
January is what we find out about that. The votes, the ballots just got sent out this past week. If you search it on Twitter, you'll already see people posting what their ballot is before they send it in. So you can you'll be able to get a good idea over the next few weeks of who is being
and for
voted
some of these
on.
people, it's the only time you'll ever hear their names or even know who they are.
Some of the, I mean, they are the gatekeepers of the of Cooperstown.
I got a problem with that.
And
And
there's
here's why.
it's a huge problem with it.
And you know what? I kind of have it with all Hall of Fame opportunities. I'm of the belief that if you were a card carrier when that individual played and you covered the game when that person played, I think it should be weighted. I think your vote should have a little bit more juice compared to a guy who's writing for whocares.com, who obviously gets a card for some reason or another. And that doesn't take away from their skill set. But if they didn't see him play and they're just going by solely numbers, I'm not sure if that has as much of an impact or should have as much of an impact compared to a person who did. And you pick the sport. It doesn't have to just be baseball.
Let's wrap up here then with Blues talk as they win. They win last night. Yeah, they played last night. They beat the Golden Knights 5-2. Have been struggling a little bit as of late, but getting a win like that over a Vegas team is a good start in the right direction.
Yeah. Now you have to remember Vegas was down 9 players last night.
How many are the Blues? I mean, it's hard to keep up where the Blues are right now.
One guy's not playing, and Braden Shen's really close to playing. So they've kind of weathered the storm of COVID and injury. But even with that said, you play who's on the schedule. The Blues were down 2-0 quick. Then they come back and take over the game. It was a very entertaining game if you're a Blues fan. But they've got to find that consistency because the egg they laid the other night in Dallas is something they just can't have on a regular basis. So we'll see how things unfold. I think what we did see is Mikkola stepped up, and I tweeted out last night, somebody's about to be watching some games as a healthy scratch because this guy played too well not to be giving him more of an opportunity. He's big, he's strong, he can skate a little bit, he plays a little bit of an edge. He just needs to have confidence, and I think if you keep rolling him out there, I think we're going to see a pretty good hockey player.
Their next game is tomorrow night. They will be in Detroit, so they go Detroit and Chicago this week, Wednesday and Friday.
Should be fun.
Well,
you know what? Those games used to be so much more fun. They were rough and tumble. You know, now the way these teams play,
Detroit's in the East Coast now. I mean, that's they're an Eastern Conference team. Like that doesn't even feel like it matters anymore.
Yeah, but you know, you're right. It doesn't matter like it used to. But they're not even the same team. I mean, they don't carry the same swagger. They're not a physical team. I mean, man, you know, when the holidays roll around, the 2 games you look forward to the Blues playing with Detroit and the Blackhawks, and I guarantee you, we won't have 4 fights between the two games.
By the way, speaking of fights, the one between Isaiah Stewart and the
I don't blame him.
LeBron James.
I don't blame him, man. I know some people say, well, he has to control himself. You get cracked upside the head and start seeing your own blood flow. I guarantee. I will tell you this.
I don't know where he was running at the very end of that.
He broke more tackles than the Detroit Lions did on Sunday. I mean, no, they didn't play his pass. Yeah, they did.
They lost again.
Yeah. Point being, I wholeheartedly understand why he was upset. And you know what? I didn't have a problem with it. You know, Brian, you know, they say he's an honest guy. It was a heat of battle. But man, if I get cracked like that, I'm doing the same thing.
So he got suspended 2 games. LeBron ended up getting suspended 1 for the game at the Garden. So I don't know if that was supposed to be nationally televised or not, but I'm going to guess that that LeBron at the Garden, with how good the Knicks have been this year, I'm going to guess that was supposed to be nationally televised, or is still going to be.
I don't know whether you have the same opportunity that you have in baseball, where we get suspended, you can appeal, and play until your appeal is heard. I would have thought that would have been something they take a look at. But I don't know if they have that rule like they have in baseball.
Yeah, I just know I watched that whole thing play out. He broke through about 3/4. It was like watching WWE when you watch when they're trying to break through stuff like that.
This was real.
It was, and we will. We'll see how that goes. By the way, speaking of WWE, just found out last night I'm gonna have tickets to give away here on Claibs Online to the Royal Rumble coming up in January, the last Saturday in January. So whatever,
won't be here for it.
Whatever that is. You won't. That's right.
Won't be here.
I'm upset by that.
I'm gonna.
No, we need to fly. We need to fly you back just for that.
I'll be on a cruise. There's not a chance.
That's the Cardinals cruises then.
There's not a chance in hell you can get me off of that to come watch the people wrestle.
It's the Rumble. It's the best pay-per-view.
It may be. I bet. Guess what? I bet they have another.
They better. Hey, I had Frank Viverito on last week. I know the St. Louis Sports Commission doesn't have anything to do with that, but he has said they have worked with that. He did say, though, speaking of events at the Dome.
What about my guy that I had on KMOX?
Mark Henry. That's AEW. That's AEW.
That's Turner and Shaq Khan's kid.
Yeah,
I'm getting the hang of this.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I got to call Kurt back. Al Kurt's son is their guy.
Danny.
Yeah. I got a kick out of it. I was amused and entertained.
They got to come back at some point too. They owe us a show. Honestly,
it's growing though, right?
That is. Yeah, that is.
It sounds like to me that they have a better interest in making sure the wrestler is better.
They're two companies in two very different places right now.
Different philosophies.
Yes. Two different. The two ages of their owners are very different. They're in different parts of their lives
they have
right
philosophical differences.
You could say that.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, you could. You could say that. So we will. We'll let you know about that coming up here once I find out more about that. But we'll be able to have stuff to give away to you, the listeners, viewers, whatever it is here on Claibs Online. Hey, enjoy yourself this Thanksgiving.
You have a great Thanksgiving as well with your family, and for everybody else out there. Enjoy it, because this is the first time some of us have come out of the bunker. So enjoy it, be safe, be smart, find a good place to take a nap. Do you take naps during Thanksgiving?
You know what? Our schedule this year is weird for Thanksgiving. I don't know if I'm going to get a nap in. I don't know. I'm either going to see that new Ghostbusters movie Wednesday night or Thursday afternoon. So going either then and then doing dinner on Thursday. So it's a different schedule that I'm used to having on Thanksgiving.
Well, let me know how that movie turns out.
I've heard good things about it. I've heard good things about it.
I'm going to tell you something. Sequels are really hard to.
I think it's a revamp. I think they are revamping the
because they did another one.
They did the one with the women a few years ago that nobody liked. I know I've seen good reviews on this one, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Probably Wednesday. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna go see it Wednesday afternoon. So I can on the show with Hanselman.
Good.
This week. We'll, hey, Toys for Tots going on here at Acura, bring in some stuff. 10% on parts or services. More information on that can be found on the web right here when you see the Claibs Online with many of our shows that we have. You and Howard doing a show this week?
We're off this week.
You and Ferrario off this week as well? All right. I know two-man game. They recorded one last night. It'll be up later on this afternoon. Handsome and I have our show as well. So still, there will be content up for your viewing and listening pleasure here on claibsonline.com. For everybody, thankful for everybody out here at Mungenast St Louis Acura for having us here for the last hour. For Mike Claiborne, I'm Joe Roderick. This has been Lunch with Claibs and Joe, powered by Ameren, Illinois, driven by Mungenast St Louis Acura, and sponsored by this man, Ryan Kelly.
You know, the only thing faster than this supersonic golf cart are the closing times at thehomeloanexpert.com. Mortgage rates on the twos, and we have a 21-day closing guarantee. Apply online today at thehomeloanexpert.com.